Thank you everyone for coming along, and welcome to the presentation between Microsoft and LAB3. So my name's Dave Lambert. I am a security technical specialist at Microsoft. Joining me with LAB3 is Anthony Wales and Neil Ruff from Microsoft as well. So we encourage you to ask questions in the chat that you may want to ask as we're going through, and we hope that you get as much valuable information around SIEM and why you would use SIEM and what we're doing at Microsoft and our partnership with LAB3 in getting you as best security as possible. So if you want to pop the slide through one there for me, Anthony, we will actually get started. So LAB3 is one of our specialist partners we have at Microsoft. They are exceedingly well engaged in all information security events that come across organizations. They're exceedingly good in helping organizations migrate from SIEM to SIEM. If you're looking at instantiating new security practices in your organizations, they've performed some of the most complex migrations into like a Microsoft SIEM from other SIEMs in recent times. They leverage automation and help accelerate delivery and reduce lifecycle management with Evit. And it allows LAB3 to ensure data and IP is removed within client environments as well, if you're looking at that particular part. So they have experience in uplifting over 50 clients inside the last 12 months and exceedingly good experience with hybrid integration for multi-cloud clients. So with that, I'd like to trust your time with Anthony and let Anthony take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Good day, everyone. I'm Anthony Wales. I'm the Director for Network and Security here at LAB3. And today we're going to walk you through a little bit about what is Microsoft Sentinel and a little bit about how our security insight delivery model actually can really accelerate and make deploying a SIEM and lifecycle management of the SIEM really, really easy. But before I jump into that, it'll be good just to provide a very quick overview of who LAB3 is. So LAB3 very much have had a strong partnership with Microsoft over the past 5 years. We've got 6 core technology practices, starting from cloud, modern workplace, network, data, and app innovation, and the 6th being security. But where we do things differently is, even though security can stand as its own pillar, like the others, we prefer to see it as a horizontal that's overlaid and integrates into those other core offerings as well. And as such, we have 4 different parts of security which we enable our customers, ranging from consulting, understanding what they do or don't know, security fusion, your active and passive defense, so think about like your XDR and your compliance. And then lastly, we have security insight, which is what helps automate our Sentinel deliveries and our SOC, so 24/7 coverage from within Australia. Today, we're going to focus predominantly just on that security insight and SOC piece. And any questions, please feel free just to raise it within the chat. Okay. So before we kind of dive into what SIEM and SOC are, I think it's important to highlight that not all security services are created equally. And working within LAB3 and working in partnership also with Microsoft as well, we ensure our customers are able to improve their security posture, where we typically align towards more of a zero trust in order to be able to measure progression in your security posture across the business. We really love to implement things as code, and that's really LAB3's passion, where yes, we can do things manually, but where we really accelerate and how we accelerate our customers is being able to deploy things by code. We tailor things to our customers' specific needs. Every business, every customer I've got on this call today is different to the other. So they're all going to need different sets of rules, different types of thresholds and parameters. We'll work with you guys in order to help understand that and help ensure that, obviously you get the right level of protection. This will then enable you to have early detection of cyber risks and threats as well. So look, sometimes they do get through, and if they do, hey, let's make sure that we stop it at the DMZ, or let's make sure that we stop it when they're knocking at the front door. So really, some of the things that we'll highlight today is how we can help provide that as well to give you better visibility. What this then turns on is then the BAU functions, such as heightened vigilance for incident detection and response, because at the end of the day, deploying an awesome SIEM is great, but no one brags about their awesome looking SIEM. They always talk about how good their response is, which is empowered by that SIEM. So providing heightened vigilance is really, really important. And then that folds into increased cyber posture with expert support and maintenance. Yes, I think, Neil, people can see the slides. If you can't, maybe rejoin. Get a thumbs up. Perfect. We then enhance service performance and value, where managing security is not just about managing the status quo. It's also about staying ahead of those particular threats, providing continual enhancements, which both Microsoft and LAB3 brings out. And then lastly, joint partnership. So at the end of the day, we're all in this together. So, how can we help uplift your environments, your people, and processes as well? Awesome. So when we actually have a look a bit about what's happening today, I'm sure all of us can feel a little bit about what this means. And that is that businesses are expanding their digital estate. This could be businesses that have never touched digital stuff before, such as manufacturing and that kind of space, all the way to finance and other different departments. How can they build the next best app? But it's fair to say, and I'm sure a lot of the IT and security people on this call will feel this, is that the scope of what we have to manage and what we have to protect is ever growing, and has really accelerated over the past 2 to 3 years as well. And what this means is that as you're starting to implement those particular security controls, ranging from maybe endpoint protection to office protection and identity and all those other kind of tools, maybe customers have different levels of integration into a SIEM. And for those who've never seen a SIEM before, it's essentially like a really fancy ITSM to be able to handle multiple different sources for security events, and ideally be able to manage your alerts and incidents as well. And Gartner says that on average, customers can have up to 40 different security tools. Now, that's not always digital. Sometimes it's more physical controls, right? But the thing is, the scope is quite large, and it can be a little bit overwhelming for teams. And you can see on the left-hand side, that's kind of the view. If you don't have a SIEM and you're trying to keep on track of everything, the poor IT or security team can be overwhelmed with lots of different tabs, lots of different dashboards, trying to keep, obviously everything afloat. As I said, it can be a little bit overwhelming. Now, for those who might have dabbled a little bit in the SIEM space, you might have more a traditional or on-premises based SIEM. That's an okay solution, but it's quite cumbersome to perform continual uplift, management, etc., which really means that, look, it might just be integrated with security events, but have a very limited response functionality. And then the last place is a cloud-based SIEM, where this is really kind of some of the stuff that we'll talk a little bit about today. But again, due to complexities, sometimes it might not get the time, love, and care that is required to keep it moving forward in order to be able to combat those emerging types of threats as well. Now, I know that I have a variety of different parts of different sizes of companies on the call. Really, what we see is for the small, medium business, it's not uncommon for there to be no SIEM at all. And look, I would expect that a lot of you guys are here for the first time to think, hey, maybe this is the next step that we need to take, all the way to the enterprise, which maybe more in that traditional SIEM kind of space, where look, we need to look at options in regards to migration. We'll cover all of that through this. Perfect. So why are we here? So it's actually a very common kind of thread for all types of business, whether it be SMB, enterprise, regulated businesses. And for us, we see it as 4 core things. There's a strong need to accelerate security visibility. I'm sure I don't need to explain to you, kind of what's happened in Australia over the past 5-6 months. It's been rather colorful. Then also be able to retain data and control sovereignty. So a very traditional way of doing security or security outsource was to give that to someone else. But now with data being ever more important, how can you actually keep that all? How can you have visibility, and how can you retain that investment even when you partner with someone as well? 24/7 coverage. Yes, I get it. Maybe a lot of your businesses are predominantly 9 to 5, but the reality is a lot of your workers don't just work between 9 to 5. With flexible hours, with all those other different use cases, really protecting your digital assets 24/7 is becoming a must. And then lastly, homogeneous security. And what that means is, whether you call it vendors consolidation or harmonization, all those different things, how can you actually start to make your ongoing effort for integrated services easier as well? And that would ever actually increase your security posture. Now, with all those 4 things, they can all be achieved using Security Insight. So what Security Insight is, it's a lifecycle management tool, which is all housed within your environment, so don't worry about that. And it actually helps remove a lot of those barriers to entry in order to be able to manage a SIEM. And hopefully today I'll go through a little bit of those points on how we can actually make adopting a SIEM very easily. And what I mean by easy is in minutes, not months or years. So looking a little bit back at kind of what Sentinel is and kind of what it does. Can I get a quick show of hands of who's seen Sentinel before? Who's maybe played with it? Yeah, lots of hands. That's awesome. Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm going to do a bit of a crash course for those who may not have seen Sentinel before, just in case. And then obviously, again, if you have any questions, please feel free just to throw it into the chat. So what Sentinel is that it's a platform that is deployed on the Azure cloud. So it's a platform as a service, right? Which does your full end-to-end from a security operations solution. And what that means is that it's able to ingest and talk to all of your different security sources and gain information from them and consolidate it. It's able to detect particular threats or concerns, whether that be from a singular source or a variety of multiple sources, which is quite intelligent. It then can allow you to either manually or automatically investigate those particular incidents. So being able to reduce some of the noise without automation, if that's the preference. And then lastly, also response as well. So whether that be just raising a ticket for you guys within ServiceNow or your own ITSM, all the way to actually blocking the user or device whilst it waits for the IT team to wake up at 9 in the morning and get to work. It's really up to you. But the cool thing here is that with both Microsoft Azure and obviously Sentinel, it really does give you that full end-to-end of capability, which can be, again, quite easy to implement through this partnership. When I talk about what these rules look like, because you might be thinking, yeah, I've already got endpoint protection and it has a lot of alerts, and I've already got, my identity protection and it's also got a lot of alerts. What's the value that Sentinel provides? I think the easiest thing I look at is when I talk to CISOs, head of IT, head of security, the common concern is that, yes, there are a lot of alerts. That's problem number one. But problem number two is that there's a lot of different dashboards to try to get that information. And what if there's a multi-stage or multi-threat kind of attack? So using Sentinel not only enables you to be able to consolidate all those alerts and incidents onto one page to make it easy for you to focus on what's important, but also actually tune or customize those particular alerts and threat detections based on what your needs are. And why I really want to emphasize that is that the requirements for a medical company might be more focused on the data, data protection for all of their patients. Whereas maybe if it was more for a MSP or IT-based company, it might be more related on identity because they're worried about kind of other things over there. So the really cool thing here is that out of the box, Microsoft's able to provide their own built-in kind of base platform set of rules. And then what LAB3 is actually able to help build on top of that for you guys through our own catalog is to be able to provide customized rules based on your industry or any unique requirements that you might have as well. The next really cool thing is the threat intelligence. And what I mean by this is that it enables you to attribute alerts or activities or incidents to particular things, and ideally dynamically block certain other risks as well. So yes, it might be bad that Jimmy's account got broken into and obviously had problems. But what could have been done before that? How could you have identified that Jimmy's account was being tested with a lot of different passwords and who was logging in from? Using threat intelligence and hunting capabilities from Sentinel can help not necessarily raise an incident, because look, people always get stress tested all the time, especially for public facing services. But it can give you a bit of attribution to go, hey, look, we're actually seeing more incidents of people trying to break into that application than normal. Maybe you need to look at something over there before someone breaks in. Or maybe it can give you indications on to go, hey, look, we can see a lot of people are coming from this particular bad entity. Again, maybe that's something that you need to do in. Or even move into the dynamically blocking phase, which is, hey, why don't we now just automatically block connections to dark web exit nodes? I'm yet to meet one customer which has said, hey, Anthony, I really want to allow the dark web to connect into our environment. Again, all these great things enables you to be able to proactively detect, but also understand the particular threats that you're handling with before they actually break in as well, which is really, really cool. Being able to visualize an attack can be quite complex, especially if you don't use a thing like a SIEM. And the cool thing here is that with Microsoft, it's really made that quite simple. Whereas, again, maybe I'll use the same example. Jimmy's account got broken into. Maybe it had that an issue where there was a virus on the endpoint. This is able to graphically kind of display that. where you might then start to see, oh no, this is actually a much bigger problem. We can see Jimmy's account was the entry point, but then it went to the endpoint, and then it went to all these other servers. So it's actually able to help correlate that for you, so you can help understand the gravity or the size of the particular exposure. And again, this is actually leveraging intelligence across all of your different integrated security sources. And no, it doesn't need to be just Microsoft security sources. I know Microsoft might not be too happy overall, but this is really meant to be able to actually protect you across all of your different security services, even hybrid on-prem sources, etc. But you will get benefits, of course, of using the same ecosystem too. Cool. So that's a great segue into this slide, which is actually talking into what you can integrate. I think the common misconception, which I've almost made it my mission over the past 2 years to help explain to customers and sometimes Microsoft, is that Microsoft Sentinel is not just a Microsoft security tool. I'll let that just settle in for a sec. Like, really what I mean for that is that I've got a lot of customers who might have an AWS presence, a Google presence, on-premises premise. It would be important for them to be able to ingest the security alerts and incidents from those particular services in order to have that full end-to-end visibility as well. Now, regardless, even if you are a Microsoft shop, there's always going to be particular elements which you might need to help cover externally for that, such as if you've got Palo Alto firewalls or things like that. But the really cool thing here is that Microsoft Sentinel has built a platform that is capable to be able to integrate into those hybrid sources. And LAB3 has had experience across many of our larger and smaller customers in order to be able to make that really easy as well. This is a fun one. I think that really the one feature of Sentinel that's undersold the most is the dashboards. And what I mean by that is that when I start talking about SIEM, when I ask customers about what they think their definition of SIEM is, a lot of the time they just go, well, it just handles security events and has incidents. Well, yes, I guess it does do that, but really where we start to make the product shine is actually being able to provide interactive dashboards for powerful insights. And what I mean by that is that we've built a collection of our own personal dashboards, which we provide our customers, which is actually able to provide insights into their security posture. And I'm not just talking about, hey, this is how the incidents are trending. Hey, this is what you're doing good or what you're doing bad. No. I'm actually talking about how it correlates the data that it sees against the incident trends to be able to help provide what the influences are. And an example of that would be, hey, we've seen the incidents have gone up 10%, but we've also seen that the amount of people and the devices have gone up 20%. Maybe that's by acquisition. So it actually provides you a bit of context in regards to, hey, are you trending in the right location? Or maybe where should you be looking at? And other examples of what we do here as well is that it actually integrates into the full Microsoft ecosystem to be able to provide you live recommendations. Like, hey, in order for you to be able to improve or reduce your risk exposure across your endpoints, maybe implement attack surface reduction rules or stuff like that. So it's able to provide dynamic feedback back for you in correlation to what it's seeing from a response perspective in order to enable you to actually find out what's going to be most effective. And then in the other scenario, maybe in the in a case where you had to investigate something, maybe HR has reached out to you and said, hey, look, Lucy has resigned or something else like that. Can you tell us what you can find out about her? Again, using these dashboards can really simplify the investigation process. You don't need to be a KQL expert. And I've spoken a lot about what LAB3 has brought in. Microsoft also has their own full collection of dashboards as well in order to help make that introduction step process a lot easier too. Cool. So why Microsoft Sentinel? I've kind of alluded about some of the cool points and I've gone through some of the features, but to summarize it, Microsoft says that it provides 4 core functions. It enables customers to be able to harness the power of the cloud. So it's purely consumption-based. It's really flexible from that means. It enables you to be able to detect evolving threats. Well, it's managed as a PaaS, so you don't need to really worry about the overhead of patching, which is really good. Expedite incident response. So being able to leverage that SOAR engine to be able to respond to incidents automatically is obviously a great function. And then lastly, to get ahead of attackers. At the end of the day, the whole game is constantly changing. And having actually a partnership with Microsoft and also LAB3 can really help you get ahead of the attackers. The reality, though, is that Microsoft's done such a good job at building an awesome product is that there's a lot of different features and value to be recognized. And because of that, they can sometimes be a bit scary and actually make things look quite complex and long to onboard. And you can see here with all these different functions, it can be a little bit challenging sometimes. Now, can I get a show of hands of anyone who's actually implemented a SIEM before? Yeah, one. Yeah, cool. Few? Perfect. So I'm sure all of you can attest that sometimes when implementing a SIEM, always, pretty much, it can be a bit of a long and cumbersome process, right? A lot of the time, it can only be the security people who can deploy and manage it because you want segregation of duties. And it can be a bit difficult from even just the change control process internally as well. What LAB3 has done is that we've truly embraced the first part, which is harness the power of cloud. And out of necessity, we've actually built a product which we use with all of our customers, which is called Security Insight. I don't know why that hasn't loaded properly, but that's fine. And really with that, the 4 core things that we provide our customers is that we enable a DevOps automated deployment and automated lifecycle management for their SIEM. We provide threat intelligence to help enrich those particular threats. So you have incident attribution. We provide SOAR capability, so you don't have to do all the hard work with the automation. We've done that for you. You can use our building blocks. And then lastly, automated updates as well. So as Microsoft brings out new features, as particular features get degraded, etc., we're able to be able to push out automated updates. Now, I mentioned that we did this out of necessity. The reason why we did this is that as one of LAB3's core values is data and IP sovereignty remains with the customer at all times. And as we provide our SOC services for our customers, we don't take any of the data away. And for those who put up their hands, yes, managing a SIEM can be just as painful sometimes. So by leveraging this automation product, which we have, really enables people to not just onboard, but also perform great lifecycle management as well for the run. What this intelligence looks like is that it gets integrated into that Microsoft Security Graph API. And as I said, it enables you to be able to do 4 things. Block the emerging threats. So rather than being able to validate and look at things retrospective and go, cool, we can see that this bad person did this, but it's bad because we're finding out after the fact. We can actually dynamically block it beforehand, which is really cool across all of your Microsoft services. We can also identify evolving threats. So remember that threat hunting stuff, which I spoke to you about beforehand. Yes, this helps enhance that as well, so you can understand who's knocking at the door. And then lastly, being able to reduce noise and response time. So whether that be, hey, look, Jamie has logged in from France for the first time, it can then automatically do all that analysis to go, okay, cool, does Jamie normally log in from France? No. Is the IP address a good or bad IP address? It's a bad IP address. Okay, cool, raise an incident and block that account, right? So really, really good for you guys because hopefully you get to stay sleeping at 2 in the morning. And then, obviously not so good for the bad guys because, well, we've actually automatically responded to that particular incident. When I talk about Sentinel, it's, as I said, it's not just about the security events and incidents. When you work with LAB3 and with Microsoft, we ensure that you get the full capability of the Sentinel product. And examples of that are implementing that SOAR. That's typically the hardest part, by the way. So again, we provide you the building blocks that already exist to be able to do it. We integrate it into vulnerability management because, again, let's face it, that's quite a topical thing right now. And what I mean with that, when those 2 things work together, when we see someone hasn't updated their Chrome, which I know happens quite a lot, we could make it automatically email that person, hey, security thinks it'll be a great idea for you to update your Chrome. So you don't need to be the bad guys, and it can be automated and self-managed to help, again, reduce your risk exposure and reduce your effort. Security posture management, where it's not just about reporting on the incidents and responding, it's actually about providing you insight and advice on what things you can do in order to improve your security posture. It's hybrid ready. We've worked with some of our customers, the largest customers across the mining and a few other different industries, which are more integrating into OT. But we've also got a lot of customers who have hybrid, whether that be on-prem, AWS, etc. We can integrate all those different sources. And the thing that I haven't mentioned yet, but is probably one of the most awesome things which LAB3 provides, is that not only are we IRAP and ISO 27001 compliant, our solution is as well. And that's really useful for if any of you guys are actually in a regulated industry, because again, this enables you to be able to demonstrate how you're actually adhering to those controls, even, and it always is, deployed in your environment as well. I've said automation a lot of times. I should really put at the start of this thing a bit of a counter for the amount of times I say automation. But really for us, that is really what makes LAB3 very, very different, is that we do things quickly, but we also do things the right way. And you can actually see here, for anyone who's had a bit of a play with Sentinel, typically they just turned on the Microsoft data integrations. That's just the start of everything. When we work with you guys to be able to accelerate onboarding and lifecycle management of Sentinel, we also integrate hybrid sources, maybe your on-prem network or cloud SaaS-based services like Salesforce. We integrate it into your ITSM, so you can have a full end-to-end ITIL relevant process. We extend the UEBA to your hybrid sources. And what that means is that you don't need to be a KQL or database expert. You can just search for the entity. Hey, I want to see things related to Anthony, right? And then automated security responses to help reduce the noise, to help make sure that you can work effectively and prioritize particular activities. Security posture dashboards, so you can understand the what and why things are happening in your environment. And then lastly, that certification. We condense that 6 months at least worth of work down into 6 weeks. And I'll be brutally honest with you guys. The deployment only takes 3 minutes. The first 3 weeks of that project, we actually sit down with you guys to help customize it and make sure that it's going to suit what you need. The last 3 weeks of it is actually the tuning to help customize it based on maybe things that we didn't really understand or weren't 100% sure of as well. We can actually work as fast as you want. I had two customers sign opportunities on the last week before Christmas, just because, and we had them both delivered by, I think, the second and third week of January. So it can be really, really quick. And these aren't small customers. One of them is one of Australia's largest retail, and another one was a large FSI customer as well. I want to stress that we tailor our solutions to your specific needs. So unlike traditional MSPs where you might have everything all the same for every different customer, at the end of the day for us, our biggest thing is that it's all deployed in your environment. That gives us the flexibility to be able to customize it as well. And really through that, what we do is that through our pre-sales or consulting process, we walk through a shopping list and we go, what do you have? And you might go, I got Azure, Fortinet, M365 Defender, AWS, and I go check. These are all the things that we've already got, which is most, as we've done a lot of these deployments. And these are things that we can custom build for you as well. And then once we get agreement on the design, which again generally takes about 1 week or so, it's pretty quick, then we're able to deploy it in your environment in minutes, which is really, really exciting as well. And yes, I can see I have a question over there as well. Yes, definitely that really does mean that we will deploy everything from the log analytics to Sentinel to all those different configurations on top as well. And if you even need us to deploy the landing zone, we can do that for you too. Awesome. Now, there might be a few of you on the call who already have a SIEM, and that's to be expected because, there's always, a few cases there. What do you do with that? So really good thing with LAB3 is that we've worked with many of our clients who have been in that position and they don't want to lose their investment, which they put in there. We work with them to understand what are they getting right now, what's the value that they have right now, and we are actually able to almost lift and shift that or lift and modernize that into Sentinel. And customers love that because while they don't really like patching maybe the existing SIEM, it can be a bit cumbersome. And it might not have had that, as I said, that TLC, which is required in order to keep it in that, really modern kind of era. So we work with customers and very quickly, still in that time frame, so still in that 6-week time frame, do discovery to find out what custom rules, custom workbooks, etc. We are able to migrate the data across if that's required for regulatory requirements or if they just want us to do it. We're able to help uplift some of the features that they're getting. Like a lot of the time we see customers with old competitor SIEM environments and they've got 50 dashboards. They go, why do you have 50 dashboards? We're able to help consolidate that, make it more user-friendly and more interactive. And then here's the really cool part. We provide our customers with platform monitoring. You'll be surprised how many SIEMs I've touched and maybe 3 or 4 of the data sources just weren't logging anything. And they had no monitoring in order to help validate that health. So again, we're able to automate that for you as well. And then the last part is the cutover and optimization too. I've spoken about code a lot, and I don't mean to scare you. A lot of people think, I don't know how to code. This could be really hard. We've made that easy too. So for us, when I talk about code, it actually only requires 3 lines per different data source. Data source being Azure, Defender for 365, et cetera, et cetera. So it's quite simple. And then sometimes it has a few extra lines just for the parameters. We do all that for you. Then if you want to self-manage that yourself from an ongoing perspective, that's fine. You can do so. Alternatively, we can obviously help provide that as part of the managed service. But the big thing here is that everything stays in your environment. If you choose to do it yourself, that's fine. Everything stays deployed there. We're not precious about it. But it's really, really simple in the way that it works. And it's also able to push updates too. So it's not a big project every time you need to add a new feature or make a new change. The code actually helps self-update itself as part of our subscription through Security Insight too. Cool. This is really to enable you to be able to have early detection of cyber risks and threats. As I said, sometimes you can't always stop everything, unfortunately. But hey, how can we put the controls in there to stop them in an area that won't impact business? So with both Microsoft Sentinel, but also with Security Insight, we're able to provide you intelligence indicators, i.e., hey, these are attributes that might reflect bad actors. We are able to provide you tactics, techniques, and procedures indicators. So, hey, of the different alerts and incidents that we're seeing, what types of attacks are we seeing and where maybe we should focus ourselves? And then lastly, anomaly indicators. This is a really cool feature from Sentinel, and it's actually able to look at the heuristic behavior data of your employees and entities and go, Lucy doesn't normally upload 10 gigabytes of data to this cloud source. Maybe you should investigate that, right? Much easier than setting rules which would just raise a million alerts saying no one can upload stuff. So really, really cool stuff there done by Microsoft Sentinel. And what this gives you is early detection for threats that evade traditional security. So whether that may be an insider risk, which can be sometimes difficult to protect from, or even something more complex as like a multi-stage or phishing kind of attack, which has multiple steps. It's able to identify and track the attackers. The funny part with this one is that you might not necessarily want to stop them. You might want to watch to see what they're trying to do. So again, this can help provide you that visibility to help allow you guys to plan how to prevent that from happening again. Minimize the impact, as I said at the start, stop them at the DMZ rather than getting to the database. And then lastly, providing you increased visibility. And all the different dashboards, etc., which we refer to, even from our BAU service, are actually provided to you 24/7 live. The thing that I hate to hear from customers is when I ask, hey, how's your security going? And they go, I got a report 2 weeks ago saying that we're great. A lot could have changed in 2 weeks. So really with this, it can provide you that insight live as well. So when we actually talk a little bit about the run and kind of what that looks like, LAB3 is able to help provide additional services. So you've got the whole platform there, you've got the insight, you've got some automation, you've got some of the dashboards, but you don't work 24/7. LAB3 can help assist you with that as well, whether that be us providing our SOC service, which is what's on the screen now, where we provide true 24/7 eyes on glass. And what I mean by that is traditional providers actually only provide, in most cases, on call for P1 and P2. We respond to every incident 24/7 with people eyes on glass all the time, Australia-based, and can be also government cleared if that's a requirement, especially for our federal clients. And this is split into 4 things. So whether that be your alert, incident, and investigation, your endpoint detection and response. So rather than going, hey, Fred, we've got an issue over here. Hey, can you please block that endpoint? No, we'll just block it for you. Let's not wake you up at 2 a.m. We can do that for you if that's what you'd like. Containment services, which is essentially what I was just referring to. And then lastly, we are actually trusted by leading ANZ and global entities as well. So we've actually got multiple of our SOC clients. We've done, as I said, squealings of deployments as well, but ranging from the top end of town, so your financial services, large retail, and also government, but also down into that small medium business as well, who just needed a little bit of extra help to help support and work with their IT team as well. When we provide our ongoing services and also when we provide our build services, we truly believe that this is a joint partnership, not just with our clients directly, but also with Microsoft, where we work with you guys to help provide an ongoing continual roadmap on how to provide enhancements. But it has to be this way because we're deploying in your tenant. We're the guest. So really for us, we're able to provide tailored visibility for our clients, elevate cybersecurity capabilities, business assurance and risk reduction, and if you actually have a look in the middle here, that's all your environment. So when we push out updates or deployments, it goes into that. Same with our threat intelligence and even the ways that we work. We collaboratively work together in order for you guys to learn from us, which is great, but you would have access to all of our investigation tools. And if in the future you choose to go your own path, maybe you want to self-manage, which is fine, you keep it all. There's no requirement to stay with us in order to retain our ownership of the data, because at the end of the day, we're the guest. We really like to see ourselves as providing a contemporary security and SOC service where it all lives in your environment, your controls, it has full transparency, and we provide the expertise. As I'm sure you've started to gather to allude, we love our automation. You've probably heard that enough times today. And whether that be for the deployment, the ongoing updates, the intelligence, and the response, all of that can be automated to help reduce response time, provide you full transparency and visibility. But yes, obviously there's a manual element as well if required. And LAB3 provides a unique response service by not just being the ticket manager, traffic light for all of the different events. We can also do the security forensics and validation. So rather than calling up for every incident related to an endpoint, we can perform those investigations too as well. Cool. So really just to kind of consolidate that in regards to kind of a what's next before we go into a little bit of a Q&A and an exit from Neil, we've kind of broken it into 4 core stages. So this has given you a little bit of a taste about not just what the capabilities of what Sentinel can do and how you can do it and how awesome it is, but also a little bit about how LAB3 builds upon that in order to help make it faster, better, stronger for you as well. What I would recommend is, if you would like, to get in touch with either your Microsoft rep, myself directly, or just LAB3 more general, and we can actually provide a planning and scoping kind of workshop free of charge. It's just a conversation. We can give you a demo about how Sentinel works, the benefits, all those different cool things as well. And then that really provides you with a roadmap and a project plan if you want to proceed towards the design and build phase, which typically, maybe whether it be a week or 2 weeks after, it can be obviously quite quick. Then through that, when we go through that design and build, as I said, it's about 2 to 4 weeks to actually have it all up and running. And then there's a subsequent few weeks for tuning as well. And then lastly, you go to operate. The really cool thing here is that you can actually see the agility of how fast this partnership can really work with you guys as well. And again, this is not just about turning on the switch and just enabling the basic functions. This is actually about having a fully fledged, fully integrated environment for you, including into those sometimes more challenging hybrid sources as well. And it can be done within 3 weeks. We've done this many, many times. It doesn't need to be so scary like all of those other SIEM deployments, which can sometimes be quite manual as well. I'll take a quick pause there. Did anyone have any questions? I think we've got to ask it through the chat. Everyone's so quiet today, Neil.
Sometimes the way. Sometimes the way.
Maybe they're just sneaking in lunch. I know that this was just after midday. I've been guilty of that a few times after seeing things like this.
Happy if someone wants to put their hand up, and we should be able to unmic you if you like, if there's a particular question, if you prefer, instead of typing. Everyone good? Did too good of a job. It's always the way, Anthony.
I like to think so.
Guys, I'd just like to thank everyone for coming along, and especially Anthony, you for taking out obviously the time to run through this and explain some of the obviously those great benefits not only of Sentinel but of a SIEM in general. Obviously, we'd prefer Sentinel to be your choice, but we appreciate SIEM is out there, and also obviously the extra value LAB3 can obviously lay over the top of that, which is fantastic right the way through to that management. I always there's always little things you forget. And I love that interactive dashboards and that that constant dynamic feedback that you get that you just don't realize and sort of really make that life easier. And I really like those anomaly indicators. I just find that early detection and increased visibility, like you said, without having to set those rules, are always fantastic. Recording will be available for everyone afterwards. If anyone has any questions, we will reach out to you all in case there's any follow-up. Again, LAB3 have got a fantastic one-day scoping event workshop that they're happy to offer in there if anyone wants to go that step deeper. Again, LAB3 are very keen on a SIEM. If it's just a matter of your overall knowledge of SIEM, fantastic. We hope that we can help with that, and LAB3 can help with that. Even better if we can go down that value of the Sentinel product. So again, LAB3, thank you very much for the time. If no one has any more questions, or if no one has anything else they would like to know, Anthony, you happy to wrap up?
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Well, look, I think just to reiterate Neil's point, thank you for everyone for coming today. As I said, you can either reach out to us via your Microsoft rep, myself directly, and or reaching out just through the generic LAB3 email as well. But look, I hope to be in touch soon. And yeah, perfect.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everyone.